Hello. Let me know if you're in the chat if you can hear me, and I'm gonna make sure that this is looking normal. I did my best to get a lot of nice sleep since I haven't made a video in a while, and for some reason last night was one of the nights that I just wanted to sleep forever, and I could not get out of bed even after I slept for 8 hours. So I feel like I look extremely tired. So, yeah, let me know if you can hear me on this new laptop. So I have a lot of questions to answer today, and I wanted to also catch up with all of you to see how you're doing, and also just because I haven't been making very many videos. So it's time to catch up and to start a whole new chapter in this channel and kind of what I'm doing with it. And yeah, I'm just trying to make my hair look a little less crazy in the meantime. Okay, perfect. You guys are like my morning mirror. Okay. Yeah, so I made a video like a month ago when I first got back to the US. You can watch that on my channel where I kind of give an update. And then I made another video, which was an interview that I did with another channel, which I posted on my Instagram, where I kind of talked a little bit more in depth about like my new direction and everything, but I haven't really done that on this channel. So I have questions from you guys that I put on my phone, some that might be here, some people that aren't here. And then I'm going to change the angle of this quick, 1 second. And then I'm gonna answer those questions, but I'm also gonna kind of describe to you a little bit more about my new direction so you guys can understand sort of my new approach, which I say new, but it's been a really, really long time coming after like 3 years of feeling kind of conflicted with my spiritual beliefs, what I was doing for my career and all of that. I've come to a pretty good place of understanding right now. And what's really hard for me, I think, like, I don't know if you can relate to this, but I honestly feel like I am changing all the time. Like, sometimes I go to different people's Facebook pages and I look at their I look at their earliest photo that they posted, which was like in 2014 maybe, for example, and then I look through every single profile photo until the one that they have now, and it literally looks that they were always interested in the exact same thing, had the exact same style, the exact same friends, lived in the exact same place, all of that. And for me, I just feel like I'm I don't know if it's because I'm always studying, I'm always challenging myself, I'm always putting myself in new environments. I'm really not sure, or if it's just my inner nature, but I feel like when I look at my own life, which might not be true from an outside perspective, but I really feel like I'm a different person every few years. This earlier this week, I found this old hard drive of mine from when I was 19 and I first started making music. And this was before I ever finished an album, and it was this documentary that I made of me that I found on this hard drive, a documentary of me making my first album ever. So I went to my cabin, I turned off my phone, I didn't talk to anyone for 2 weeks, I just sat in silence and made music, and I was watching this video, which is, like, the only one that I still have left of it, of this whole documentary, which was, like, 8 hours. And I talk about finishing my album and how I felt, and I was watching this person talking about this, and didn't I don't remember being this person at all, like, I just don't remember being this individual, and, like, in some ways, I think I was sweeter and nicer and more, um, humble and more, like, naive and all these things, but I just don't remember being this person, and I can look back at other periods too where I'm like, "Who was this person?" And I feel like even in this short time that I've had this channel, I've gone through these, like, mini evolutions or scorpionic, phoenix-like transformations where I want to go back to a certain energy, but I can't, like, I'm not like, the change is so profound that there's nothing that I can do to take me back to where I used to be. So, that's, like, a weird thing, I'm sure, as a viewer of my channel when I'm just all over the place, but it's like that for me too, and I think as I get older, my whole my whole, challenge and what I'm trying to do is try to find the continuity there and try to deliver you everything that I know is true. even if that's always changing. And the main thing that has been changing, especially lately, was that belief system part where I was feeling kind of conflicted about the work I was doing, especially prediction. Like I kept asking myself, is prediction really that valuable? Like should we even be predicting the future? Does that just take away from people's ability to enjoy life? And that's what I wanna talk about today is like where am I at now? Because there are certain so even though I'm changing all the time in this really intense way, I still do reach these kinda like plateaus, you know? These little plateaus where things kinda all make sense, where, like, I'm kind of aware of who I am, and I feel like I reached one of those, and that's when I feel the best about sharing information. But because of my nature and the fact that I'm gonna throw myself into a new situation, a new challenge, I'm gonna probably study more things that have nothing to do with what I'm doing now, I probably will change my perspective. But for me, that's like the most fun thing to do is to go live in a new country, study a new language, uh, study something that's totally outside of my field. Like I love doing that. So of course, when you take more information in, your perspective changes. But I hope that as I change, and my perspective changes as I learn more, that it's actually a more holistic perspective that is more helpful, more healing, more regenerating and empowering for people. That's all I can hope. I have no idea, but that is what I hope. So there's a lot of really cool people in here: Magic Cat, Thorn News, Allison Gray, Jess Duran, Richard, Ritu, everyone. So thanks for watching. Um, so some people are saying that they can relate to this. Yeah, and it's just yeah, and sometimes it is like, okay, well, what is my path? And that's what I wanna get into today. I'm gonna answer all the questions too. I'm gonna do like a little bit of both here and there. But as a person that's like me, and also a lot of my clients, when you are always changing, evolving, growing, like that's one of the things I love the most. I just love always self-improving and learning more stuff. And then you're then your opportunities are always going to be changing. And I think that's one reason why I've always been drawn to tarot and astrology and the cards of truth and psychics and spiritual teachers, is because for a lot of my life, I have felt really lost. Like, I don't know. Uh, sometimes it's been like, I don't know what to do, but other times it's like, I know absolutely what I want to do. I just don't know how to do it to get the success that I need, or just at least to make enough money to survive. And so when I found astrology, it gave me this sort of sense of peace and calm that I didn't have when I didn't have astrology, for lack of a more beautiful way of saying that. But I think the problem that I found with astrology after, well, the last 10 years have been a lot about astrology, but the last 20 years have been about astrology, tarot, and spirituality. So the one thing that I noticed is that when astrology and tarot, all these spiritual things play a really big role in my life rather than like me being busy with other things, I sometimes get a sense of peace from them, but sometimes I get a lot more stressed because of them. Like, if I have a tarot card reading where I go and I ask about a relationship that I'm in or a career that I want to pursue, and the psychic says, like, it's not going to happen, or it's going to be really bad, or it's going to cause you pain. I kind of see in my past that I've set myself up for that. Like, that I've gotten really worried sick about it before it happened, and yeah, sometimes it would happen, sometimes it wouldn't, but I wasted a lot of time and energy worrying about it and making myself feel bad about it, and also because of my path, like, feeling guilty about it, like, "Oh, I should have done something different, I could have done something different," and putting a lot of my own responsibility on things in my life that really I don't have responsibility over. It's like putting my energy and willpower onto things that literally are outside of my control. And this is a very dangerous game because our willpower and our energy are literally the only thing that we have in life to direct changes towards the things that we can actually change. And that is, as a spiritual person, where our energy should be if we want to really fully step into our power. So when we get worried about the things that we have no control over and we can't change, we're wasting valuable energy that we could be putting towards the things that we actually have responsibility for and shaping our lives in the way that we see fit. And so there has to be a balance. And if you would have asked me like 6 months ago, kind of where I was leaning towards with this spectrum, I would have been like, "You know what? You know, I think it might be healthier." I wasn't sure, but I was thinking maybe it might be healthier to not ever use tarot and not ever use astrology, not ever use the cards of truth for prediction and for describing the self and for, figuring out your path. But 6 months ago, my laptop died. I decided to just not have a laptop and disconnect from the internet for the most part, except for on my phone. But when I use my phone, there's a time limit because my wrist starts to hurt, so it wasn't that much phone usage. And I threw myself into making art, and I completed 20 works that were completely unique. Totally most yeah, I think most of them outside of my imagine or were in my imagination. I created them, I designed a T-shirt, all this cool stuff, and I was just really in my creative energy and not at all worried about making money or anything like that. Because I was lucky with my living situation, I didn't have to worry about money so much living in Costa Rica. And now after that 6-month experience, also having gone from Costa Rica and coming back to the US where I was born and raised with people that think, like I thought when I was younger. I really think that there's a place and a role for tarot, astrology, and the cards of truth, but as a spiritual sort of like prescription, you can't have one without also doing some kind of practice or doing something in your life that helps you to take back your power. So I almost look at it as like a before and after kind of thing. But I don't think it's that linear. It's just kind of that linear for me. Whereas at a certain point in my life, I was not going to be able to take responsibility for my life. Like I wasn't able to define myself for myself. I wasn't able to understand the world through my own lens. I gravitated towards systems, people, relationships that could help me to define all that. Like it was too crazy of a task. Also, I didn't even know where to start. And for me, having these relationships, some of them, and of course, toxic, and then also having astrology showed me a way of defining a method, a structure, all of that. And now for me, it's like a before and after. I've learned how to do that for myself and define myself for myself, define my weaknesses on my own, define my strengths on my own, define my path for myself. And because I've relied so much on other people and other structures to do that for me for so long, it's been an incredibly disorienting process and really hard and something that has been a struggle, which is why I haven't made a lot of videos because that kind of a process of like trying to be, have your own inner compass for somebody that so much needed astrology and the cards of truth and spiritual teachers to help me or to tell me what to do. It's hard. Like, it's incredibly hard. It's like you literally feel like you're blind. But as I take it day by day, which I'm still in that process, as I take it day by day and do practices like journaling to really connect with myself and also like actually start putting my willpower, my Mars towards things in my life that I can control rather than worrying about when I'm going to get married or when I'm going to be successful with my career or any of that, which I don't have control over that result, even though I do have control over the steps I take to achieve it. So as I do this day by day, I start to feel a little bit stronger every day, a little bit more sure of myself, a little bit more aware of this like inner map and where I want to go with it, and a little bit more faith in life and a little bit more faith in myself and a little bit more understanding that, look, if I don't believe that I can achieve these things, then what is it about me that I should change in order for me to feel confident enough to go do that thing? It's like it gives me much more agency and I feel a lot more empowered every single day. And it's not an empowerment that goes from 0 to 100, but I feel like every day I have like 0.25 to 1 degree more growth in that direction. And um, that to me is really exciting and rewarding. And I feel like everyone, whether you use astrology, tarot, the cards of truth, or any other divination tool or not, everyone deserves to have a sense of direction and a sense of self that is self generated. And that has been really hard for me to like come to that place of understanding. But I also now know that both sides are really relevant, both sides are extremely helpful, both sides are necessary. And so I hope to, in the next week or two, type up like a PDF, some kind of a short ebook that you can download for free on my site, where I sort of talk about like the benefits of astrology, tarot, cards of truth, as well as the drawbacks, and more about this like path of empowerment. So you can kind of see like, why do I still offer readings? Why am I still going to teach the cards of truth, which is open for enrollment right now? Like, why offer those things? But if I'm like, yeah, but you need to have your willpower, and I'll kind of go more in depth with that. But the short answer is, well, because I'm here at this point in my path now, and I don't think I would be here without astrology, tarot, and the cards of truth. And I know that when I was down in the hole, that's like how it metaphorically feels, that tarot, astrology, the cards of truth pulled me out. And I think that everyone deserves to have that chance as well. And another thing is that when you use the cards of truth well, mostly the cards of truth in a different way, which I will be teaching in my cards of truth level 2, when you use the cards of truth as kind of a mystical handbook, that actually ends up being a guidebook for this part 2. So when you use the cards of truth without really using the cards, just taking the wisdom of the natural world with you, you end up getting to that kind of empowered sort of energy. And I will be teaching that class, and I'm really, really excited about it. And I think it's complementary. So that's what I have to say about that. And I wanted to really put that out there. Also answer your questions about it. Um, I'm just being honest with you. It was such a weird time in my life because like I was enjoying doing the cards, and then I'd be like, wait a second, but something feels off about this. And yeah, it's just that you can't get stuck in there. It's like using them for the right times in your life and for the right things, but not making that your path. And I think everyone is completely different. And there's some people that are watching this, maybe you're watching this and you really, really resonate with what I'm saying, then what I'm talking about is for you. But if it's not resonating at all, then I don't think that what I'm talking about is for you. But the reason why I really think that this willpower piece and taking responsibility for the things you have control over is so important is because in quarantine I read like all the books I possibly had about spiritual topics, and they pretty much all came down to that one point. Is like our willpower is all that we have, our creativity, our creative as well as our destructive nature is all that we have. How do we use that to shape our lives? That's really the end all be all. Anytime that you're letting something outside of yourself define you, describe you, show you the way, you're disempowering yourself. But you do need those tools in the beginning, just like any person on a quest in the ancient legends. But at a certain point, you need to become the leader archetype. Even if you never become a leader in your real life, you need to step into that leadership archetype within yourself to truly fully have mastery. And I think I'm just at a point now that I am there and I can share that with you, kind of what I've learned. And the offerings that I have that allow you to do that more fully are my life coaching sessions and my psychomagic sessions, which you can sign up for right now. I think my description box has the link to enroll in the Cards of Truth level 1, as well as the there's like a sessions link where you can book a reading or psychomagic or life coaching. So why would you even want to study the Cards of Truth level 1? Well, that's if you feel like you are still like you don't even know where to start when it comes to describing who you are. Like you really do feel completely lost. You really do feel stuck in the hole. Or or you don't, but you know that the cards could be a really valuable tool for your clients who are feeling that they are in that place. And I know I was, and I know that sometimes I still am. And I still use the cards once in a while in the predictive way. It's just that it's not like my whole entire way of life. Like it's not my lifestyle anymore, which is a lot healthier for me. It kind of reminds me of when I was a raw foodist, and I was like completely sure that eating raw food all day long every day was the healthiest thing for me. And then I found out that no, raw food should be like a part of a whole diet. Like because when I was a raw foodist, all my hair fell out. It was terrible. And I really think that astrology, all that is the same. It's like a part of a healthy diet, you know? If you just consume that, which I don't know, maybe it's not you, but I have seen some of my viewers really being on the astrology YouTube channel grind all day long, absorbing astrology videos, reading their tarot cards at night. Like their whole lifestyle is like that, just like mine was. And maybe it works for you, but I know that in the long term, it didn't work for me. Same as with raw food, how that really worked for me for the first year and a half. And then after a year and a half, it took a really bad turn where, yeah, my hair used to be twice as thick as it is now. I never got that hair back. It was so thick that my hairstylist would book me for 2 sections of her time because that's how long it would take to cut through all of it. It does not look like that now. Okay, so let's just look at all these comments. Wow, there's a lot of comments. So a lot of people just relating to always changing, and yeah, I'm also learning a new language right now. I'm studying German. So, hallo, wie geht's? And that's really interesting because I did all that art because I applied to an art school in Germany. I only applied to one, and my portfolio was so nice. I was sure that I was gonna get in. I signed up for all these German classes, started taking them, and I was rejected. But my portfolio was beautiful, so I'm gonna share that with you because I've worked so hard on it. And I think that the reason I didn't get into art school is because that allows me to actually fulfill my lifelong dream that I've always had, and so I'm super excited. So when they said that I didn't get accepted, I was actually relieved and happy, which is really sad because I worked so hard on my portfolio, but, so I will share with you my dream because maybe you'll wanna be a part of it, maybe you'll want to join in on it, and it has to do with my spiritual path. So as I was saying that this empowerment path is a lot about being able to connect with yourself and to be able to know for yourself which direction to take and where to go and who you are and all that. And one thing that makes me feel super connected with myself and my path, where I really can feel a sense of inner guidance and this like real true inner compass is when I'm in nature and I'm in peace and quiet and I have that tranquility of solitude and I can just be in my own energy, be around the ocean or trees or in the middle of the woods. Maybe you can relate to this. If you can, then let me know in the chat. And one of my lifelong dreams, and one reason why maybe this is embarrassing to say, but ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to be rich and famous. Like I wanted to be a famous singer like Britney Spears and have a lot of money. And my main reason was always, well, of course, I loved music, but my main reason was I wanted to be so famous that people would listen to me when I shared a message about nature conservation and saving the animals, saving nature. Ever since I was like a 5-year-old kid, this was my plan, was to become super famous like Britney Spears and to share my message about saving the world, saving nature and conserving it and saving wildlife habitat. So, and I think that a part of me really did that with my career. Like I was doing tarot readings without having a YouTube channel, but there's always been this subconscious part of myself that thought, well, the more famous I am, the more that eventually, once I reach millions of people, I can finally save nature. So I think I've always kind of put the cart before the horse rather than having the horse pulling the cart. And I think it's time now for me to really pursue that dream of nature conservation. And so, one thing that I'm looking at now that I'm in the US and I have citizenship here and all of that is buying my land and having my nature conservatory, finally, really doing that. And at the same time, finding my home because I've been a vagabond for my whole life. Like since I was like 7 years old, I've never really had like one permanent home. Always been moving around, always living out of a suitcase of some kind. And I don't know, it's like I was so young, like when all that moving around started, that I really don't feel like I have a sense of a true home. And when I visited people who have like a family home where all their stuff is, it's such an amazing feeling. So I'm finding that home, and I'm finding my nature conservatory. And so, yeah, that's definitely something that you could be a part of if you live around where I buy it. You could help me do some different restoration projects, which well, this is my plan. So, of course, my life is really unpredictable, but my plan is to buy this land, develop a team around me with the local conservationists, and then do different projects that need to be done to restore the habitat, to keep the habitat healthy and safe, to make the habitat livable for certain species, especially endangered species of plant and animal life. So if you live near me, you could actually like come and chop down trees and things like that for trees that need to be removed from my forest. And if you don't live near me, you could always like donate to certain projects. So I'm extremely excited about this, and it's something that I've always wanted to do. And for a while, I thought I would be able to do this in Costa Rica, but it's just too hard when you're not a citizen of a place and with coronavirus and all of that. So I'm definitely going to, well, I'm in the midst of pursuing that. I'm taking the steps. I'm in the middle of it. And it's very, very, very exciting. And it seems like it has nothing to do with this channel at all, but it has everything to do with it because I wouldn't have, well, part A, I wouldn't have my intuition or my spiritual ability unless I had my connection with nature. So those are the gifts that have been using traditionally on this channel. Part B, I wouldn't have this idea, this sense of like this other path of empowerment without being in nature, surfing, being on the beach like I was in Costa Rica. Like nature is at the core of everything that I do, and it fuels me, it feeds me, it gets me in touch with myself as well as my clients, and I want that for all of you. I want that for the future generations. I want that if I have children, I want that for them, and it's not gonna be here unless we do something to conserve it. It will just all be developed or all be destroyed or all be mined, all be cut down, so somebody needs to conserve it, and there are so many amazing people that are conserving it, and I guess since the 90s, it's just gotten better and better in some ways from what I've been studying and reading. I'm actually taking a course right now, about conservation, and, so if I want this spiritual gift that I've felt in my own life to exist for others, I need to make it available. So it has everything to do with my channel, everything to do with my career, everything to do with all of you. So, yeah, I hope that that happens in 2021, but I don't know. I mystically met this person yesterday that is literally a real estate agent helping people to find conservation property. So, I think I'm being guided on this path, although it's taking me a lot longer than I had ever assumed. So, yeah, maybe eventually I'll create a Patreon so that it'll have like all my projects, including my conservation project, and you guys can contribute in your own way. But I would love it to have like actual people on the ground doing stuff, like I don't know exactly what my property will be, but for example, cutting down trees, getting rid of invasive species of different plant life, just really fun stuff where you're actually like out there camping and all of that. And I'm hoping to have a place that's like campable too, where we can have like campfires and things like that as well. So Shaika says, spiritual responsibility for the world. The world is beauty. I once sat in the balcony for the longest time and realized how much I am dependent on the external. Nature is self-empowering. Yes, you said it so beautifully. Grateful dreamer. I think your plan sounds so beautiful and inspiring. You will accomplish it. I know you will. Thank you for saying that. And you know that it's been one of my longest dreams. And it is funny, like to think like, oh, I just thought that once I was rich and famous enough, I could make it happen. But I think I need to make it happen from where I'm standing now. Because I've even brought up this idea to very powerful, very rich people of just a simple nature conservatory, and they're happening all over the world, and it's always been like they're like, "No, you should do this instead," like, my vision is so strong of exactly what I want to do, and so I just have to do it myself. I just have to do it myself. I know that there's, like, people that, are, like, they're doing, like, really technologically advanced conservation, like taking drones with, tree seeds, and the drone is dropping down the seed and everything, and they're reforesting areas, and I love that, like, that technologically advanced viewpoint, and I know that probably makes more of an impact, but I'm trying to have more of, like, a local view and a more community view than, like, just get really extreme, like, worldwide right now, because that's always been my dream, so I feel like I have to trust it. I'm very interested Alfredo, hello. I'm very interested on your new perspective about how things might work in a more elevated way. Yeah, so Alfredo is a former student, so I would recommend doing my Cards of Truth level 2. It's actually, I think the price that I chose for it is $444, so it's actually more affordable than the Cards of Truth level 1, because it's also a shorter course. Not that it's less in depth by any means. But I'm still working on the structure of it, but it will go through how to use the Cards of Truth without predicting and without using the cards, and how I'm kind of doing that now. Like, that's kind of my main way. And that's why I'm trying to tell you, like, it's I wouldn't be in this place of, like, building my own inner compass and all of this if I didn't first have that foundational Cards of Truth level 1, if I didn't study tarot, if I didn't do astrology, if I didn't even know how to make predictions. And I also like the fact that I have done all these things, and I've taken all these skill sets and taught them, because I've also developed my intuition. And intuition is like one of the main ways in which you can really navigate and hear yourself. But using intuition on yourself is not as easy as using it on others. At least that's how I feel. Um, the place where I lived, never street lights, and I could see the stars. I hate street lights. Now I have airplanes and military planes flying by my home. Nature conservation is so important. I'm so glad that those of you that are commenting, some of you agree with me on this. It's such a dream of mine. Ilona, I'm all about nature. I crave living in a remote nature area. And I do hope to live really remote in the middle of nature. That's kind of how I lived when I first got to Costa Rica. And then development came and destroyed everything beautiful around me. And that just made me feel even more inspired to create change. So I have another channel, and I will post it below. I think it's just Nicole Rennie. And I want to, like, make other videos that have nothing to do with spirituality, like, for instance, the conservation stuff. So I would follow me there, but I probably will put some other things on this channel too. But, like, once I have my land and everything, I think I'll make more, like, vlog type videos about it, and also trying to educate on different things that I'm learning as well about conservation. So you'll be learning from me as, like, being maybe one step ahead of you with some knowledge, and just teaching from that viewpoint as I go along and as I learn. Because even though this has been a dream of mine for my whole life, pretty much, I have not pursued it. So I have a lot to learn. And all I have now is, like, life experience telling me that this is necessary, and if you take development too far, you lose, like, you like, for instance, old growth forest, I mean, those take hundreds of years to really get to this, like, beautiful point, and if you just chop them down, you lose something that takes years and years and years to come back. So, yeah, it makes me sad. These are the things that make me, like, cry at night. My grandmother, she chopped a tree in her front yard, and I, like, can't look at outside on her yard anymore without having, like, this really like, deep sadness. Deep sadness. These are things that just make me feel so bad, so I need to do something about it. I know it sounds weird, but that's why I live in an old building in the city, because I like the untouched parts of the world to stay untouched. Oh, that's beautiful. Hello, Tanya. If we want to protect the animals and humans, we have to end all war. That's an interesting perspective, and I would like to know more about that. I agree with you, but I want to know more about why you said that. You said my name correctly. That is amazing. That's Ilona. I will definitely follow your other page. Do you have ideas of what area you want to start this stream in the USA? Yes, in the USA, and probably in, like, a forested sort of area, hopefully by water, so I can have, like, a pond or a lake that I can manage. And For instance, like if you go to the state that you live in, you can find an official list of the endangered animals in your area and endangered plants and like plants and animals that are like almost endangered but not yet. And so I'm gonna really sit down with like an ecologist or a biologist or whatever and go through my land and really think, well, hey, would this end up being a good sanctuary for any of these species? And see if maybe I can do things to promote endangered species to feel like they have a sanctuary on my property too. So that would be great. I want to buy like a lot of property, but I know that that might not be in my price range. And I don't know if it would even work to like kind of crowd fund an even bigger area. But what I think like maybe I should buy land that I just own and then like the surrounding land maybe can be crowd funded because I have to put it into a conservation, um, I have to put it into a conservation land with the state that I'm in. So that's like a legal thing, and I think I have to, like, be the legal owner of it, and that will ensure that no one can sell it, no one can touch it, no one can do anything with it, that it's just for conservation, and I'm not sure if it's, like, funded by outside sources, like, what goes into all that, but if this is something that you're interested in and you think I should maybe crowdfund it so I can get like a bigger piece of land, then let me know because obviously the more land that I can conserve and especially a really like sensitive area, obviously I would do that. I just do not have the crazy resources that I would need to do that. And if you were listening to what I said, for 6 months I didn't have a laptop, which means I didn't work very much. So I'm not like in this crazy financial position right now. I'm mostly doing this because this is just a huge dream of mine and I'm going to try to make it happen however I can. So it also supports me and my vision if you do get a reading or sign up for one of my classes. So that helps to support it as well. All right. So nice everyone wants to be a farmer. Yes, but sometimes farming's not very good either, you know? Um, it can destroy the land. You have to do it in the right way. So now that I told you all about where I've been and my dreams, also I am drinking coffee again, but balance, it's half calf. So I've really found this like moment of balance, like it's not like anti-prediction, it's just prediction as part of the greater whole of everything. It's not avoiding caffeine, it's just not drinking such a crazy amount of caffeine. And I feel like in a really good place with all of that. Also, this is alive and it's kind of like not looking very nice, I don't think, but I have my camera here. I have my whole setup again. So I'm going to make like nice looking videos again soon as well. And I have a lot of time to myself coming up here. So no distractions. So yeah, you can look forward to more videos from me. All right. I'm going to answer the questions that you asked. And if you have any more questions, I don't think somebody said, are you the daughter? Sir Thorn New said, are you the daughter of Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes? No, but when I was 16, I was in a record store that I worked at, and a lady came in and she was like, Katie? And I said, no. She's like, are you Katie Holmes? I was like, no, I just work here. And she followed me around the store, like 6 feet behind me the entire time that she was in there, so much that I ended up going into the basement until she left because I was like, that's creepy. So she really thought that I looked like Katie Holmes. I don't think I do anymore, but I had a haircut back then where I kind of did. Um, so, okay, I don't see any questions. I'm looking through everything and I'm going to read through more of like your comments later on. Can you tell when will the world be free of COVID-19 pandemic? India is in a pretty bad situation right now. So, I'm sorry to hear that. And I think it's dangerous to try to make predictions about this kind of stuff, but I think that the governments are forecasting that it might not be done for like until at least 2025. And I've also have read that they are thinking it could be like 20 years. So I think that governments are erring on the side of like being really careful and they're expecting it to be they're expecting it to be at least for the next, what is that, 4 years, but at the same time, there's no way to really officially know that, and I think that this, like, Saturn transit through Capricorn and Aquarius period is all about, like, restructuring the society as well as restructuring the, social structure itself with Aquarius, and I think that once Saturn gets out of that area, we might kind of feel a relief. We might feel things kinda changing. Like, I think we might see a sense of moving from, like, all this restructuring to a different type of energy, you know what I mean? It's, like, less about restructuring and change, like, all that kind of is done, and then we're on to something else. So whenever Saturn gets into Pisces, I think that's when things will maybe feel like not as, "Oh, we're changing everything all the time and all that's happening." But at the same time, when Saturn is in Pisces, Saturn will be opposing Virgo, which is at, like, natural 6th house, house of health. So it might be kind of a it might still be kind of a thing where I think even the governments are saying this, where it's, like, not that, it's about the disease we're dealing with now anymore, but maybe just pandemics and disease in general, like, stuff like that. So I'm not gonna make a prediction specifically right now because I haven't really looked at it too much, but I would say that I don't think it's gonna be like this year or next year. I think that things are gonna start opening up, but this whole, like, restructuring thing that we're going through right now, I think it's more of like a long-term situation. Now, that brings me to a good point. Back in the beginning when people use astrology, they were using it to kind of look at long-term cycles for the collective, and I really like that use of astrology. And I think that that use of astrology is not that disorienting. I don't think that that really takes away from your personal agency at all. So I think one thing that I might delve more deeply into is more of that type of astrology of, like, looking at world events. So I just wanted to also put that out there that I really like using astrology in that way. I think when you start to get it too much into, like, the personal stuff, first off, that type of astrology is not as well developed because it's not as old, and secondly, I think that it does at times take away from that personal agency aspect. So you can agree or disagree, and you can let me know your thoughts there, but I always think that predictive kind of stuff, like in world events, is actually really helpful for people in a way. It's like the weather, predicting the weather. Um, what do you do to nurture your creativity? So for me personally, I need a lot of solitude and just to kind of be in a room by myself without distraction, and that's the biggest thing, and be in nature. And also, a great thing is to always sit down at your work desk, whether it's for music or for art, every single day and paint or draw or write or make music and just do it every single day as a ritual and a routine and not judge whatever it is that you make. And all of a sudden you'll feel yourself kind of building up momentum, and after, like, maybe a few hours or a few days or a few weeks, you'll really be on a nice smooth ride. And that's something that when you're distracted a lot or moving around a lot, it's kind of hard to do, but that's usually the best thing for my creativity. And when I was younger, I would drink a lot of coffee and that would make me feel extremely creative, but is not good for your health. um So sometimes, like, things like coffee and chocolate would, like, really stimulate my creative mind and get me to think clearly, but I don't really think that's very sustainable. Um, what do you think about Leo King super I'm just gonna, like, anti schmacks stance while India is losing 10K people a day? I think it's because some people well, for instance, like there's an Instagram that I follow. They were showing that they were reporting about India and they used a photo from a gas leak from like 10 or not 10 years ago, but a few years ago. So like the photo that they were using to talk about India the journalist used a photo from 3 years ago in a gas leak rather than actually using a real relevant photo today in India. Then there's also people in India that are actually there that are saying, "No, things are not as bad as they're saying on the news." So there's that information coming through, and then there's people that are saying, "No, I live in India, and actually things are really terrible." And I think that perhaps the Leo King is navigating all this information and more trusting the alternate source of news rather than the official source of news, and building his assumptions off of that. And a lot of people building their assumptions off of that rather than the official narrative, and also their personal beliefs about schmaxes, right? Rather than actually like the data that's available. Um, Personally, for me, the only the only reason why I've, like, held off, which I'm just gonna share with you all just because I'm answering this question, so I should share my stance. I To me, it's worrisome because the official trial for testing and efficacy doesn't end until 2023. And so for me, like, that's something that I just don't feel comfortable with. So until 2023, until that official testing is done, I'm not going to feel 100% confident about making that decision. And I also do not see people. Like, just alone by myself, not interacting with anybody. So I feel like I'm not putting people at risk or whatever. But it's really scary to me that the official trial doesn't end until 2023, and then I personally know people that have had really bad reactions, and so I'm just waiting that out. And then it is also worrisome to me that there's no more control group because of the ethics of not allowing the control of the trials to um, get a schmax when it was available. Then they lose that control, so they actually can't really tell you if they let those people that didn't they got the placebo or whatever actually get a schmax later on because of the ethics of it. And so now we don't have that control group. And so even when that trial is done in 2023, we don't really know what the reactions are and all that. So I'm just like, I'm very, very sensitive. Last time I got my blood drawn, I fainted. I was like in the hospital for an hour trying to recover. I just don't like needles in my arm. So for me, it's like I'm gonna put it off and be smart and not put anyone in danger, but and wait till I get more information. So I can relate to the fear. I can relate to that. I can relate to looking at all those articles and seeing that like scary negative side or questioning it. And so I can't judge that at all. And I haven't even watched the video. I think he sent it to me, so I'll watch it, that he posted about it, so I can actually make a comment. But that's kind of maybe the perspective that it's coming from for some people. Because I know for me also, I have had some schmaxes in the past that have really taken away a lot of my vitality, and I had to work really hard with Ernst Wilhelm and homeopathy to detoxify from that. So just I know I can't handle very much in my body, and that's not good for me. So, yeah. Anyways, let's see. I don't it's okay if you don't agree with me. I think we all have to navigate for ourselves here. Okay, what were the other questions here? Um, so World Bank funding until 2025 to control us into taking it. Well, yeah, I don't like that there's like the private that it's like privately funded as well. Like if it was all 100% publicly funded, all that, like I just don't like that these companies are all like infiltrated into the government and they also all make money. It's just it bothers me. And I'll be honest with you, I'm still trying to navigate and see through all that stuff myself. And it's another place where it's extremely disorienting. So, yeah. As the year of the ox continues, do you study or have an interest in the Chinese system of astrology? So, great question. I have an interest in it, but I don't think I'll be studying anything further right now with my spiritual work. I'm trying to go more deeply rather than wide. So I'm just going more deeply with the cards of truth right now. And I'm actually trying to just like even focus more on the cards of truth than also astrology and also tarot and everything like that. So because I'm learning a million things also, like I'm doing this conservation stuff, I'm learning German, like I try to fit it all into one day, and then I can't even do that. So I would rather meet somebody that knows a lot about Chinese astrology and can just share what they've learned. Do you have any book recommendations on long-term cycles in astrology? You know, I don't, because I've been so much focused on um just like personal astrology, but there's a star about or the star, a book about the fixed stars that what is it called? I want to read those books. I found them in my storage unit. And fixed stars astrology. Maybe somebody can type it in the chat. And I'm looking it up on my phone, that's why I'm looking down. But it's like a really good book, but that is something that I think I'd be really interested in. Also, maybe more study of the nakshatras, but it's this one. It's called Brady's Book of Fixed Stars, and Bernadette Brady I would recommend for long-term cycles as well. So definitely that one, The Eagle and the Lark, and anything in that vein. So those are the top two that I will mention right now. Solar cycles seem to have a large hand in the trends. Yes. Mundane astrology is more useful. Why? Staying out of the personal chart obsession so many fall into. Yeah, so yeah, that's the word, mundane astrology. So you use the correct term. Yes, because that is what well, no, I can't say yes or no if it's more useful or not, but I think for my life that yeah, knowing like the general overall trends is really helpful because it helps me to make my long-term goals, but I don't make my long-term goals dependent upon what my astrology chart tells me about who I am, what I should be doing, what my life path is, what my strengths are, and what my weaknesses are. I take personal responsibility now to work through those, to work on my weaknesses that they might become my strengths, or to develop my strengths in a way that can help me to achieve what I want to. And yeah, because when you get into that obsession and you continuously give away that responsibility of defining yourself for yourself in your own terms, you don't at least what I feel is that you don't fully step into your power. But mundane astrology isn't putting the ego into it. It's not putting like, this is me and I, and you know, I'm going to do this, that, or the other thing. It's more of that collective. And I think that that's really extremely helpful, that we focus on our own personal empowerment for ourselves so that we can then contribute to that collective. However, as I mentioned before, in case you came late, I think that many of us, like myself, need astrology to help us get onto that stable ground in order for us to get to a point where we can define ourselves for ourselves. And just, I do feel I still am in that process of defining myself on my own terms, just defining my life on my own, or in my own terms, however you say that. And I think I'll always be in that process. And I think that's the process of being human. And it's an amazing process because, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I'm always changing and evolving. And so that process is continuous. Can people with mental problems benefit from psychomagic sessions? Like what they can do to reduce the effect of the disease, how to cope with their problem? Richard, I don't have experience with that, but I think that it could be worth a shot. It could definitely be worth trying because there's nothing in that session that, as far as I know, would uh like contradict or like make anything worse. So I think it could be beneficial for sure. And I know that Psychomagic initially, as done by Alejandro Jodorowsky, they were treating like really severe diseases with this system, like actual like physical diseases with this system. So I think that it's definitely possible, and using the techniques you could get to a place where you could kind of find that little kernel that you need to help do that. Also, I should just put a disclaimer, like treating a disease or whatever, like we can't really say that a system or whatever does that. It's for entertainment purposes only legally, but I would definitely give it a shot. You were worried if people would really join this live. Well, um, YouTube and Instagram, unless you're posting like all day long every single day, they cut you off from your audience. And so for me, like 6 months without really releasing anything or even being on Instagram because I didn't have a laptop, I was not sure. Do you analyze stock market trends? I don't, but I recommend Corey Dowds, and he's been on my channel before. Corey Dowds, Dowds is his last name. He's really getting into that in Bitcoin and doing really well. So highly recommend him. Do I trust that my intuition is my intuition and not my imagination? That's such a good question. I think you asked me this before for this session. Your imagination is your intuition. Like, that's the crazy thing, is that the more you get into your creative imagination, the more that you see that there's like a psychic quality to it. So your imagination, I actually teach my students, if they don't feel like they have intuition, use their imagination, be creative. Like, what do they want to see? And then going through that process, like going through that door of imagination, they start to, all of a sudden, their intuition turns on. So your imagination is vital for your intuition, which is also why, like, on my other channel, I'm going to be doing like more art, more music, all that kind of stuff, as well as the nature conservation, because nature as well as my creative work is how I feel most spiritually connected. So it has everything to do with this channel. So I'm going to start putting stuff like that here too, but I'm going to put a lot of stuff like that on my other channel, which I think is just Nicole Brenny. Like I said, I don't know, but I'll put a link to it below. There's some art videos there already. No offense, but you're not going to go anywhere for 2 years. Kate, probably not. Probably not, because I'm going to be working on this nature conservation, and also, well, we'll see, but also, like, I don't want to sound rude or anything, but like, if the vaccination, oh, I shouldn't say that, schmaccination should actually work, then other people should be protected anyways. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody gets it and they want to spend time with me, then they should be protected. And so I just feel like it's everyone's personal right to decide. I know 3 people, or not, I know 2 people that have never had one in their whole life, and their health, they're way more healthy than me, will suffer the same illness, and they're recovered in 2 hours, and I'm recovered in 2 weeks. And so I don't know. I don't really want to make this conversation about that, but I guess I'm just being honest. Like, I'm just going to get more information. I am the type of person that waits till I have a lot of information before I make a decision. Like, when I bought this laptop, I researched it for a year before I bought it. When I bought I don't know, I'm going to be buying a synthesizer in the future, and I've been researching that synthesizer for 12 years. Like, I really do a lot of research, and that's when I can feel confident about making a purchase or making an important decision. And I just don't want fear for others or myself to guide that decision, and that's just my integrity. So, and that's all that I have. So I'm not going to compromise it until I'm not going to ever compromise it, but I'm not going to make a decision until I have all the information. And if that means that I can't leave my house for 2 years, well, that's the decision that I made based off of my integrity, and I'll stick with that, But no offense taken at all. I'm sure that you're just curious. What can you tell us about the schmacks based on astrology and tarot? I really haven't looked into it enough, but I want to. I feel like that's going to be digging into a lot of weird energy. I don't want to. But yeah, there's a lot of people around me that are like 100% confident, 100% feeling good, and all that too. So I sometimes feel like we all live in different realities, and it really disturbs me, but I really think that's just part of life. People believe in different gods, people believe in different diets, and they're like, this is 100% the way. It's just amazing to me how we can relate to each other and exist like that. Thank you for saying that. My father has never been schmaxed. He is in his 60s and very healthy, rarely gets sick. Yeah, that's crazy. Are you sick? Why take something to make you sick and become a zombie? Interesting comments. I like these. Yeah, I'm really jealous of the people that I know that have no schmacks because they like can literally like walk 10 miles without getting tired and they're like the strongest athletes that I know. It's just it's crazy. I'm like, how do you even have energy? Like I just don't get it. I feel like I have the lowest amount of energy possible, and even when I was living in the sun and surfing every day, like, I never had that level of energy or health, and, like, any stress would make me feel like I was coming down with a cold, and I also wasn't always like that when I was a child either. I took a schmacks that they gave to, like, every 16-year-old girl at the time, and ever since then, I really had some bad things happen with my health, and, yeah, I have to thank Ernst Wilhelm for helping me through homeopathy to, like, detox from that, but, I'm not 100% sure that that contributed to all the stuff, but it was, like it was a schmacks for the female reproductive system, and I all I had was female reproductive issues for, like, 10 years following that. Just, like, crazy menstrual cycles and everything. Too much information probably for some of you, but yeah. So, I don't know. As they say, correlation does not equal causation, but I nothing else changed in my life. So, I'm just really careful now until I have way more information. But I hope I don't offend anybody either because, like, people that I love the most in my life are all, getting this and they're fine and they're confident about it and they're happy about it, and I listen to them and I'm always learning and gaining information. So this is just how I feel today and it could change tomorrow, and like I said, it's just my integrity to get enough information first before I make any decision in my life. Okay. That's so nice. Thank you. I'm happy to see you again too. Grateful dreamer. Have you studied other card systems? Just tarot and yeah, like I said, I just want to go more deep rather than broad. So I'm just sticking with the cards of truth. And also, if you've ever taken my class, I kind of have taken my own little direction with the cards of truth too. So if you took my class, it's like different than what you would learn from Ernst with a whole different perspective and different techniques too that I developed. Um So yeah, it's really like become my own thing. And then with this cards of truth level two, the cards without the cards, basically, it's a whole new thing. So there's always more that I'm learning from this system, and it's helping me to develop systems and ways of thinking that I think are more empowering. And so I'm happy with it. Okay. Do you have any tattoos? No, I don't. I don't think I would ever get one because just like I said in the beginning of my video, I change all the time. So I probably would get it and then not like it later. I don't think we need a dividing stance. I really do believe in unifying with other people. Yes, me too. Yes. Okay. So you guys can keep asking questions. I always say you guys, and I realize like that's not really correct. You people, you people can keep asking me questions. There's some questions on my phone. How is Loka doing? Loka is my dog, and that's a great question. So I had to make a really hard decision that I was very I took it very, very hard for like 2 months, but I came back to the USA with my boyfriend, and at the time it was like in the midst of really crazy pandemic stuff. So they started to not allow emotional support animals to fly in planes and all this kind of stuff. And so I made the decision to find Loka, an amazing family in Costa Rica. I hope I explained this. Loka was the dog I had in Costa Rica. I found her this most amazing family, and before I left Costa Rica, I made sure that she was acclimated. I went and visited her with her new family, and I talked to her mom probably once or twice a week. She sends me photos, and so I have photos of her all the time, but she's not my dog anymore, which is really sad, and I really miss her. But last time I visited her, she was in a field running, like sprinting with a wild horse. And I knew that when I got back to the USA that I wouldn't be able to provide her with that kind of nature, that kind of home. She also has a family of like 3 other dogs. 2 of those dogs are her puppies, like not her puppies, but her new mom adopted 2 little puppies that she's kind of the mom of. And yeah, I just knew that when I got to the USA, there was so much instability with the pandemic that I wasn't sure that I would be able to provide for her the home and the setting and the nature and the exercise and all of that. And I think I made the right decision because she's so happy and she's making the family so happy. And the family that adopted her, they had just lost a dog. And so Loka came into their lives and just brought them so much happiness and love and healing. So I feel like she was my dog, but I feel like she found a family that needed her more and that could provide for her that nature that she wanted. And like when I think about my nature conservation, I think that she would love it and all of that, but I don't even have that yet. So yeah, it makes me sad, but I think that my forever dog will come in the future. And now I can just be happy that I found this amazing family for Loka, and she will hopefully be happy forever and healthy forever. And I still get updates. So I'm happy about that. Somebody asked me, what is the most accurate astrology? There's tropical, there's Vedic. I don't really have a specific answer to that. I think they're all accurate. And I just think that it's looking at the same thing from different perspectives. And so I actually think that the more you know of different, like if you really study one astrology, but you know about other astrologies, you're probably going to get more of an accurate idea of the chart and more of an accurate understanding of what's actually happening. So it's kind of like a coming together of them that I think is the most accurate. And I always found myself having more success in readings when I used Vedic astrology and what I've learned from Western astrologers as well. Decomposing Chakra asks, how have I been spending my days? My boyfriend is here with me in the USA. He's leaving soon, so I'll be by myself. So we've been spending some quality time together and also with my family. And I've been reading a lot of books. I was going to show you some books that I've been reading because somebody asked that question, but I have a whole huge stack here. I don't think I can lift all of them. Okay, I'm going to lift part of the stack. They're super heavy. Anyways, I've been reading books. This is like a third of the stack. Going to the library, cooking lots of good food, trying to sell some things. Oh yeah, so I'm offering my Cards of Truth level 1 again, and it's a different format. So you guys can enroll on my website, nicolebrenny.com/classes. And I'm also planning on putting pretty much my entire, not my entire, but a lot of astrology and tarot card books and tarot card decks on my website for sale. The reason I'm doing this is I'm keeping my favorite decks and my favorite books, of course. But when I move, I'm probably not going to have as much space as I used to have. So I don't want to have hundreds of books. I don't want to have hundreds of tarot card decks. I don't want to have hundreds of random things that I haven't even used for 3 years. So I'm going to sell a lot of stuff. And so if you go to my website, nicolebrenny.com, in the future, I'll announce it. I'll have a shop that has like all of the tarot card decks that I've used and used in videos, spiritual books and all of that. And I'm going to keep my favorites, of course, and I'll make a video about which ones I'm keeping, but I love all of these decks. I love all of these books. I just cannot, my vision of my home and everything is just not a huge one. And I don't want to have a house filled with stuff. I want to have a house filled with ideas and creativity and love and excitement, not stuff. So also, like, I feel like once you read a book, you should get rid of it, unless it's like the best book you ever read. So I'm going to try to be more flowing with my things. So I've been doing a lot of reading. I've been getting stuff ready to sell. I have been redoing some things with my website and stuff like that. I've been doing a little bit of art, but I need to do more. And then this is funny. My boyfriend convinced me to play Minecraft. Has anybody ever played Minecraft? Okay, Minecraft is probably one of the best games ever made. I used to play Harvest Moon, but Minecraft might be better. It's on the laptop, I guess. You can probably get it for other things, but right now we have it for our laptop. And it is so fun. I cannot tell you how fun it is. It's one of the best games I ever played, and I think maybe I'll do like I'm playing it with him because he's leaving next week, and so it's fun for us to play this game together and build houses and everything. But, go look it up, Minecraft, if you like video games. I grew up with video games, so I once in a while as an adult will play them. But I think on my other channel, I might do some Minecraft videos because it is super fun, super rewarding, and you'll play it for a while, and then you'll be, like, energized to go work or go write or paint or anything like that. Also, I haven't been surfing, but we've been playing tennis, and I've been improving my tennis skills because 'cause I'm pretty close to a tennis court right now, so we're playing tennis, and I'm just trying to enjoy my boyfriend as much as possible before he leaves, and yeah, that's it. So, boyfriend stuff, business stuff, a lot of work stuff, family stuff, reading, writing, all of that. Yeah. Minecraft is awesome. World of Warcraft, Stardew Valley. Oh, Stardew Valley, that's I like the name. World of Warcraft, my brother played. But yeah, most of you probably aren't caring about Minecraft. And when my boyfriend tried to convince me to play, I was like, no. But then I started and it's so fun. You can build like a dream house and you can milk cows and you can have a farm and you can collect honey and you can dye wools. It's just I wish my real life was like that, and that's what I'm trying to do in my real life. Anna asked, "Where should we start in devising a psychomagic ritual for ourselves?" So, if you want to get into psychomagic on your own, you can buy 2 books from Alejandro Jodorowsky, which I read and gave away, but it's one's called Psychomagic and the other one's called The Manual of Psychomagic. In Spanish, they are Psychomagia and like the Manual de Psychomagia, and they're originally written in Spanish, so I would recommend the Spanish version if you can read and understand Spanish. And yeah, those would be kind of teaching you the foundation of how to create a psychomagic ritual. And I would, yeah, I'm not going to explain all of that in this video, but that's where I would start if you wanna do it on your own, or if you book a session with me, maybe you'll kinda see my approach and you can try it on your own, but I think it's a little bit too complex to answer in a short question, so I'm just gonna point you to that resource, Alejandro Jodorowsky. Jodorowsky's with a J, like, because it's, Spanish language, so Alejandro Jodorowsky. That will be a great place to start with his books, and then you'll have a very good idea about how to create a psychomagic ritual. If you get a psychomagic session with me, so that's you'd get that because you'd feel like really stuck with an issue or a situation, and you've tried astrology, tarot, and all of that, and it hasn't worked. You've tried connecting with yourself, and that hasn't worked. Psychomagic really tries to, or it works on like our subconscious blocks, and it helps us to use our internal archetypical and symbolic language to consciously work through those blocks in a way where we make those subconscious symbols conscious. And so we actually do like a real act. It could be like a magic act, like every day, bury this egg underground. And then on the 4th day, unbury all the eggs and crack them in the river, like it could be like some kind of a weird ritual like that, but it's working upon your inner symbolism and your inner archetypical language to take something that we don't know really, like you're describing the problem and I'm figuring out, well, what's your symbolic language around that? And I'm using that language to create an act for you that can help you to undo this block or to overcome this thing. And it honestly took me 10 years to really develop the techniques that I have because my techniques that I use are actually um, even more built upon than what I learned from Alejandro Jodorowsky. So they also use cognitive science to inform the results. Like this book that I'm reading right here, George Lakoff, Women, Fire, and Dangerous Things is like part of my research. I already read a lot of it. I just got the physical copy. So like authors like George Lakoff, I don't know how to pronounce that correctly, also really inform the design of my psychomagic sessions. Like really deep cognitive science and cognitive neuroscience are like informing how I build these sessions so that I can really understand your symbolic language and really create an act that will be very potent for you. So I can't really teach you all that in this Q&A, but I think that that would be a good place to start. And then if you kind of want to understand more like how I do it, that's unique from Alejandro Jodorowsky, then that's more about like the cognitive science and my research of people like George Lakoff and George Lakoff. I read a lot of that kind of stuff, and that helps me to bring more science into it. So it's like equal parts magic stuff and science that are making these sessions so powerful. And there's still my sessions for Psychomagic are really affordable because I think they're so healing and incredible that I wanted to really like make them affordable for everyone. And I think I'm going to leave that price for as long as I can because it's like only $122 and my other sessions are way more. So but I really think that that's like the most well, I think the most life-changing sessions that I have are the psychomagic and past life reading, because past life reading is also symbolic language, and usually people are like the most transformed after that. And of course, life coaching, but not to say that you can't have a transformative reading, but at least that's how I perceive it. And you can still do past life readings too. Okay. Which book on nakshatras would you recommend? Go to Ernst Wilhelm's website. Maybe it's Fault of the Heavens or astrologyvideos.com. Anyways, find his website and he has a free PDF of the basically like every Nakshatra Sutra just directly translated. It's just like an absolute direct translation. And that is the best book. It's just a free PDF and it will change your life. Is there any good in knowing the future like through the cards? Here's another question. That question, I think I answered a little bit in the sense that, yes, I think that at some points in our life, we need to just get on solid ground. Like we're stuck in a hole or whatever. We need something to pull us up. And I think that at certain points in our journey, having a prediction gives us that hope that we need, that peace that we need in order to move forward. But I think that if we are just in this perpetual cycle of like, oh, I feel bad, I need a prediction to help me feel better. Oh, I feel bad again. Where's my tarot card deck? Give me that prediction to make me feel good. Then we were in that bad cycle, you know? So it's like, if we use it as medicine, that's fine. Prediction as medicine is okay. But as a way to build your life, as a foundation to build your life, that's when I'm talking more about this other stuff, you know, which is the empowerment piece. Empowerment, from what I can offer you, is life coaching, psychomagic, and the cards of truth level 2. Plus just like working on yourself as an individual, you know, and I'm sure that there's lots of different ways to do that. Also, I can hopefully offer you nature one day in my own way. Is there a connection with the Atma Karka and Dara Karka when it comes to love, romance, and or relationships? Nick asked this question. Yes, there is. When you study something called trigger transits, which I took a class with Michael Reed about trigger transits, any connections between the Atma Karka and the Dara Karka in terms of like where they're transiting, or if the transiting Dara Karka planet's hitting your Atma Karka, that can trigger relationships and relationship activity. And you can definitely read the Atma Karka and the Dara Karka in the chart to see different things about the relationship as well. Mostly you would just look at the Dara Karka and see what's going on with that planet, which is the spouse planet, whereas the Atma Karka is the person's soul planet. So you'd look at the Dara Karka, the spouse planet, to kind of see the relationship, what the person's like, all of that. And I think that's pretty much it. Those were all the questions. So any last questions before we wrap this up? Do you have a Moola Nakshatra? Yes, in my Saturn is in Moola. So yeah, that's the researching part, right? Also, I wanted to say that too, like, one thing that I noticed in my friends and astrologer community circle is, like, this tendency to describe yourself only through your chart, like, "Yeah, so I'm an artist because, my Venus is here in my chart, and, I was thinking about studying this because of this in my chart, and, I had to break up with that guy because, his Venus was combust and blah, 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 blah." And after at first I was like, "Oh, this is so fun and amusing," but after, like, a few years of being around that a lot, it was kind of disturbing because I feel that a lot of the people that I was talking to were, like, kind of taking all that responsibility off of them. Like, for instance, breaking up with somebody, and instead of being like, "I wanted to break up with this person," being like, "Well, I had to break up with them because it said this in their chart, or my astrologer said they were a bad fit for me," or whatever. And it just, to me, that's not an empowered individual, and I was there too, and I think that there's all different paths to empowerment, so I could be wrong, but for me, empowerment is taking responsibility over all of our choices and our decisions, and maybe we screw up, maybe we fail, maybe we make a wrong decision, maybe we, take a wrong path, but honestly, when you get to a certain point, you realize that nothing is a wrong path, nothing is a wrong decision. There's no such thing as failure, and, like, that's, like, the place that I want to be, is coming into life and thinking about things from that perspective, and not just, like, this constant victim mentality, right? So, that's another piece of the puzzle for me too. Bri How do you say your name? Brione? Brione says true. My philosophy teacher in college said that that's why astrology died out long ago. People used it as a crutch to redirect responsibility. Well, that's that's funny. That's a funny way of putting it, but I think I have used it in that way. So I think if we use it as medicine and we have it as a healthy part of a full diet of, self-work sort of tools, it's fine. Just like raw food is good, but if you only eat raw food, it's not really that healthy. Maybe for some people, you can eat raw food your whole life and you can look great, be a raw food vegan, but at least I know for me, that makes my hair fall out, and perhaps my hair has been falling out in some kind of metaphorical way with astrology too. So, it's time to take the power back, right? Oh, you guys are so nice. I love you too. Do you use relocation astrology for calculating return charts? No, I don't. I also don't like relocation astrology because, again, like, if I was gonna look at my relocation chart for Costa Rica, it would be like, "Don't go there," like, "That's only a place for you to retire." And yeah, sure, that's good to know because I felt so lazy there, like, all I wanted to do was lay in a hammock all day. But if I my goals at the time were, like, for my career, so if I would have looked at that chart for my career, I would have decided not to go there, and Costa Rica was one of the best things that ever has happened in my life, and I get really sad when I think about Costa Rica now because I miss it so much. I don't regret leaving, I'm happy here, but it's, like, such an emotional, amazing place for me. So, that's what I don't like basing all your decisions off astrology because maybe an astrologer will tell you this is the best choice or the right thing to do, but maybe the wrong thing to do is the right thing for you, you know? And if you just have this criteria for your life that's so simple and basic that we're taught, like, you need to do this at this age and then have a career at this age and marriage at this age and blah, blah, blah at this age and whatever. Sure, maybe following this path that your astrologer or psychic or spiritual teacher lays out for you will get you to achieve those things at that time, but maybe that's not even the path that really feels right for you, you know? I always try to bust myself down to the very basics, like whether somebody was asking me before about like what nurtures my creativity, it's like being alone in isolation and going into that void of like, instead of being like, "Oh, I'm gonna write this type of song," I like go to this very basic place of like, what even is music? It's sound that we're listening to that makes us feel a certain way, and then just trying to create sound that I can hear that makes me feel a certain way. And I think even I like to think that way about life too. Like, what is life even? Like, we can make it whatever we want to make it. And we don't have to sit in chairs. We don't have to sleep in beds. We can live our lives how we want to. Like, for a long time, I slept on a futon on my floor. That wasn't even like a real futon. It was like a Japanese sort of style cushion that I could roll up every morning. Like, my concept and idea of a bed completely changed. And then I realized that I kind of like sleeping on the floor with a yoga mat and no pillow. I mean, it's like the more that you experiment and explore life instead of getting stuck in these particular ways that you think it needs to be, the more empowered you become, the more creative you become, and the more like agency you have in the world and in life. And I just don't like anything that takes that away from people. And I think at certain times we need something. And I love astrology and tarot and the cards of truth, but yeah, you got to have the other side. Um, oh, so you're referring to solar return at your place of residence. Yeah, you need to use your place of residence to accurately create charts. Like, if you're using the cards of truth and you have moved from your birthplace, you need to put in the current residence in order to have like an accurate quadration and progression. Or maybe it impacts only one of those things, but at least like your day quadration, it won't be accurate unless you're putting in where you live now. Right. So if you're doing a reading for somebody, unless you're looking at their day quadration, you don't really need to change that much. But yeah. Astrology does not define you, but it's definitely understanding. Same with electional astrology. Will you do Q&A or will you do Q&N with Mercury combust? I don't know what you mean by that. Maybe I just don't know the right abbreviations. Okay, so thank you all for coming to this and letting me talk and share with you and kind of describing this whole thing of like where astrology fits and where this empowerment path fits. And I don't want to like overly discuss this anymore. So you're going to see me still doing astrology and tarot and the cards of truth, and you're going to see me doing psychomagic and life coaching and this cards of truth level 2. And you're going to see me doing both of these distinct things. But I probably won't. I'm going to try not to just always describe and explain myself every time, because I think you're all going to get annoyed and I'm going to get tired. So I'm going to plan on either making a short, succinct video or a PDF that you can download for free off my website, or both. That really fully fleshes it out. And I have an iPad that I got last year, but I only received it when I was in the US, when I could finally pick it up. And so I have lots of cool stuff I want to like, I can make it look cool and everything. So I'm excited to maybe do some cool digital art on it, this PDF that I make, but we'll see if I get that far. But I want to have this PDF that you can download and then you can just really see where I'm coming from. Basically, it's just going to be like my philosophy, my mission statement, and it could change, but I want to keep you updated so you know where I am. And I'll be making more videos on this channel, my other channel. What else can I say? Sign up for my Cards of Truth class. So if you want to explore yourself through the Cards of Truth, that's perfectly fine. That doesn't mean that you like aren't in this empowered stage or whatever. There's no judgment. Like one study, one thing is not better than the other. I highly encourage you to study the Cards of Truth, because like I said, I wouldn't feel like where I am now without the Cards of Truth. And this Cards of Truth level 1 will inform the second class, Cards of Truth level 2. Then feel free to sign up for that. And also, if you want to use the Cards of Truth with clients like I do, a lot of people that have taken my class now have clients. They have their own businesses, their own channels. Alfredo's doing interviews on people's channels using the Cards of Truth and doing videos with them. So it's really an amazing, beautiful system. So please study with me if you'd like to. And with the Cards of Truth level 2, you don't even need to have any experience at all with the cards. You can just be a random person that just stumbled upon this video, right? You don't need to have any experience and you can still benefit from the Cards of Truth level 2. So it's up to you what you want to study. I'm making both of those things available. And I'm going to be making more videos on this channel and on my Nicole Brenny channel and working towards my dream of a home and a nature conservatory, and that's all that I know as of today. Can you do birth rectification through the cards of truth? The best method I know for birth rectification is trigger transits that I learned with Michael Reed. I'm a pescatarian Pisces. Does that make me a cannibal? Yes. Okay, so you can ask any final questions for this next minute. Otherwise, I'm going to go. Somebody asked me which books I'm reading. I should just do a little brief thing. I've read all of the Woodswomen. Well, I've read almost all the Woodswomen books by Anne Labastille, and I only have 2 of them here. I have 3 and 4, so I'm on number 4 now. And this is about a woman that built her own log cabin in the Adirondack wilderness of New York. She's a legend. I don't think I ever really had a role model in my life. Like if somebody asked me that question in an interview, like who's your role model? I never had one, but I think I found my role model in La Bastille. Also, I don't think I'm going to build a cabin in the woods right now, but I read this book, which was very rewarding. So one day, hopefully I will build a cabin, but it's kind of impossible right now with lumber prices and things like that. And then I have a couple more Anne Labastille books that I'm checking out. Oops. Just going to remove these things because they're ugly. This is about an extinct bird that it became extinct, but she was trying to prevent the extinction. An Assignment Wildlife. So I'm reading all of her books. I showed you the George Lakoff. I'm doing my research and studying some women conservationist books. This book looks fascinating. It's called Countdown. And it's about how we're literally all becoming more and more infertile over time. It's really sad, but basically we will be extinct. Basically, she says we're going to be extinct by, I don't know, 2050 or something like that. So I had to read that book. And then this is one of my favorite YouTubers. So I had to check out his book, Pen and Ink Drawing, because I love black ink drawing. So he just kind of talks about his techniques. And then when I drink coffee in the morning, I have a lot of other books here, but I'm just going to show you the last 3 ones. When I drink coffee in the morning, I like to inspire myself. So I like to read these books, Talking with Artists. It's a series. I read 1, and this is 2 and 3. And they're literally written for children, but it's about illustrators and artists that created a full-time job with their art and their creativity. And that's something that, obviously I've created my own business with my skills and my creativity, but I just love that. I love to inspire myself, by reading about other people's lifestyles, how they work, what they do during the day, how they stay productive. That's really fun for me. And I also like reading business books too. So I'm reading this really good book. My boyfriend just finished it, 0 to 1. If you're running your own business, that's a great book. If you took my tarot card course, we talked about business. That would be a great book for you to read. And then finally, to keep up with my French, Un appartement à Paris by Guillaume Musso, one of my favorite French authors because he's super easy to read. I used to read one Guillaume Musso every month, and now I'm reading it again. So I'm reading a lot of books. I also am reading this one. Well, I haven't started all of them, but Women in Wilderness. So have you read any of these books? Do you recommend any similar books? I am on the wait list at the library for Braiding Sweetgrass, which is another great conservation type book. And I use the library because, like I said, I don't think it makes sense to keep books after you read them. Also, it's free. And also, if I start a book and I don't really like it, I started this book and it's not really relevant to conservation where I'm looking to conserve. So it's then you have a book and you don't need to read all of it because you didn't pay for it. So it's not so much of a waste. Yeah. So that's it. So please share below what books you're reading. I'm going to go through my library soon and I'll tell you what library books I'm not library, but what books I'm keeping from my spiritual books and which ones I'm selling. And some of the ones that I'm selling are really amazing. It's just that, like I said, I don't want my home to be filled with stuff. I want it to be filled with ideas and creativity and excitement and love and hopefully puppies. So I'm getting rid of stuff. It's hard for me, but I'm getting rid of stuff. Yep, George Lakoff. Have you read or are familiar with the great Ken Wilber? No, I guess I'll write that down quick. Ken Wilber. Yeah, if you have any recommendations for stuff like George Lakoff, I love him. So I'm reading stuff from like every direction, like French stuff, conservation stuff, sometimes spiritual stuff, art stuff, the cognitive science stuff, you know. I'm always learning and studying. And that's why, like I said, I'm always changing. So I hope you're gonna stick around for the ride. I was reading him for a research paper I did. Did you like his books? They're really complicated at times, but they are incredible and fascinating and have everything to do with psychomagic. And it's really helping me to develop psychomagic in my own way. Yeah, so I'm going to wait for the reply here, but yeah, get a reading with me if you'd like to. Also, of my readings, past life readings are more on the side of the empowerment, for sure, because we tap into the symbolic language rather than the healing. So I think about it as healing and empowerment. Healing is tarot, astrology, cards of truth. Empowerment is more past life reading, psychomagic, life coaching, cards of truth level 2. Are we clear? And that's just the way that I think of it and what I can offer, right? How do you manage multitask all those books and complete them timely? Learning to finish my half reads, LOL. Okay, so what I do is when I'm drinking, and this is going to sound really OCD, but, and also I know that's not politically correct. Sorry to offend anyone that has that disorder, but I read this book in the morning usually because it's like by interview. So while I'm drinking my coffee, I'm reading one interview, right? And then I usually have one book that I'm reading that's like about business and one book that I'm reading that's about whatever, like just fun or like a topic that I'm interested in. So I'll usually read my business book in the morning. Like after I read the little interview book, I'll read like a business book. And then for entertainment, like before I fall asleep at night, I'll read a book like Woodswoman, because also this is about her life. It's basically like an autobiography about how she found this land and she built her log cabin and everything like that. And she became really self-sufficient. And so then when I fall asleep at night, I have like this nice cozy feeling of like wilderness and being in a cozy log cabin. And it just makes me feel so happy and puts me in a really, really good mood. Whereas if I read a business book before I go to bed, I just get so inspired and I'm writing down all these ideas that I can't really sleep well. So usually so you saw this like crazy stack of books. So like usually I have them organized by like my business books and then like my entertainment books. And like conservation is like my entertainment books because they like put me in a really good mood. And yeah, I know it's a lot of books. And then I like to like take little vacations. Like when I turn off social media for like a week, then that's when I do a lot of reading. I'll just like read books all day long. Yes, Metaphors We Live By. I have that one. It's so good. I'm so glad that you found these books because they're amazing. Yeah, I have that downloaded, Metaphors We Live By. I'm just writing it down again in case like I lost it when I switched over my laptop stuff. So I'm just typing it in. Yeah, anything about metaphors I love because I'm a poet as well. The Dune and Holy Mountain guy is Alejandro Jodorowsky, yes, and Dune is one of my favorite books ever. Alejandro Jodorowsky did not write Dune, but he wanted to make a film of Dune. And also, if you like Alejandro Jodorowsky, please check out his comic books. They are so good. The Metabarons and the Inkle are life-changing spiritual reads. Speaking of spirituality, if we wanna look at the omens, there's 2 crows that are just, like, walking around outside together right by the window. Prashant Trivedi's Nakshatra book. Yeah, I don't know if I've read that one, but he writes some really good books. I did Cards of Truth with Ernst. Is that second course with you? So the Cards of Truth level 2, the cards without the cards, is with me. If you wanna go deeper into the cards and get a lot of practice, then the Cards of Truth level 1 is still relevant, but I'm not teaching it in the same structure as before. It is now pre-recorded with monthly live sessions, and I think the pre-recorded videos are gonna be of a much higher quality, and I will still use your birth charts as examples and maybe even invite students like live when I'm recording the pre-recorded session. So if you sign up before June 15th, I think, I will use your charts as the class examples in my recorded videos, but I'm keeping it as recorded videos so I can get the information more succinct. It's easier to find, and then we'll have a monthly live session to practice and everything. So it's a little bit different, but it's better, and then people can sign up whenever they want to, rather than having to commit every week and all of that. So I think it's gonna be better. Also, there will be a private Facebook group to answer questions, to ask questions that I will be active in. And yeah, so you could take level 1. Also, I have a different approach from Ernst. So it's not like vastly different, but if you really want to go deep into the cards and get all the different perspectives, then I would recommend taking my class as well. And most of my students take my class as they are taking Ernst's class, like they take them together, because I help to kind of break some of the things down that Ernst explains in more manageable pieces, it seems. That's what I've heard from my students. So if you were a former student, you can chime in here if you'd like. Okay, goodbye, Nick. Nice to see you. So ignore the volume. I recommend a random dive in. What does that mean? Anyways, okay, so let's just see if I get a response on that question, what they meant by that, what S meant by that. And yeah, so I keep trying to leave, but this always happens to me. I can never say goodbye. I have an appointment at 1, so I do have to go at 1, though. A really exciting thing that's happening tonight is my grandmother, who is from Chile, South America, is going to make authentic Chilean empanadas, and my boyfriend and I are going to make roasted jalapeno salsa verde, like the real kind that you get when you go to a Mexican or Tex-Mex taco stand. There's that salsa verde, the green sort of opaque sauce. We're gonna make that for the empanadas. I'm so excited. Oh, the book is big. Yes. All right. Yeah. It's okay though. When she was talking to, or I don't know who S is, but S was talking about, I think metaphors we live by. But these books, like by Lakoff and Mark Johnson, they're like crazy. Like this book is crazy. It's so thick, and it's like dense. Like my little sister tried reading this when we were at my dad's cabin, and she was like, "I'm not really sure about this. It's dense and thick, and there's lots of words, but if you're interested in the subject matter, it's like very nourishing." So I definitely love it. The Little Prince, I love that book. Actually, that book is really important to the Cards of Truth. We talk about the Little Prince in the Cards of Truth class. And yeah, that's definitely been a really important book for me as well. So I will talk more about books in another video. I will do like I'm gonna make a video about my favorite nature books. That was a promise for one of my viewers. And if you have any other questions, if you are watching this after I end this session and you have any questions about anything about this healing path, the empowerment path, about the books I'm reading, about nature conservation, whatever, just put them in the comments below and I will come back and answer your question in the comments if I have an answer for you. Yeah, so feel free to get a session if you feel like a session. I still do readings for myself. Like I said, it's just not the major focus of my like life path anymore. Like I just use them when I need them as a medicine. So if you feel in need of the medicine of a past life reading, a cards of truth reading, a diamond reading, anything like that, I would love to read for you. And it would be really helpful for me as well to read for you now as I am restructuring everything. But if you want to try out this empowerment path of Psychomagic, again, a past life reading or life coaching, then I would love to do that. And I do have space now for long-term coaching clients where we also use Psychomagic in these sessions and things like that too. So I would love if one of you were interested in long-term coaching, because I would love to take on some more long-term clients and join you on your journey. That's it. So have a wonderful day. Let's do a reading group on Lakoff. Yes, send me an email, hi@NicoleBrenny.com. And once I'm on this book, we can do that. And yes, see you guys all soon. Thank you so much for coming. I did not expect everyone to come, and expect way more from me. My whole plan is to find a home and a place for myself so I can be more present in my career and for all of you. It's a community here, you know what I mean? I'm connected to all of you for a reason, so I didn't mean to disappear for so long. Okay, stay healthy and safe and connect with yourself and nature, and I'll see you soon. Bye.